Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasyadvirada Vaktradhyaha Parishadhyaha Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tam Asraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Manojavam Maruta Tulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtham Vatatmajam Vanara Yuta Mukyam Sri Ramadutam Sirasa Namami. Now, how should one listen to the Ramakatha, the story of Rama? We should read or hear it not as a record of a human career, okay, but as the advent of the avatar itself. And Bhagavan is, as we say, omnipotent, omniscient, etc. It's all powerful, absolutely free and all that, all knowing, all pervasive and all that. So when we hear the story and the glories, and in this case it's a history, because Ramayana is what is called in Sanskritam as Itihasam. Ramayana and Mahabharatam are the two Itihasams we have. Itihasam means Iti ha asaha. Thus it was. That's a literal translation of that. Thus it was, which means what we call as history today. So these are all things that actually happened. Whereas the other things like the various Vishnu Puranam and all that, Puranas are all stories. But these two are actually historical documentation of our ancient culture and how people were. So from the history of Rama, when the Rama Avataram came, we should, with tremendous determination, we should imbibe, what the Avatar actually personified, and what are the words that Rama uttered, how did he conduct himself. These are all education for us. We must take it as learnings, in the period that Bhagavan appeared in the human form and then disappeared, right? And he came mainly to show us the pathway, because we are caught in the jungle, we don't know how to go, what to do. So, for example, Bhagavan comes, Rama came, and how did Rama speak? He spoke extremely lovingly to people around him. So when you see that, when you hear it, and especially if you get a chance to see it, there's nothing that's more potent than that, then you also say, oh, I should also speak to people lovingly. I should be like this. So that's how Bhagavan, with his personal example in the Avataram, showed us what dharma is, how to speak truth, what is truth, what is love, how does love conduct itself, all those things that we learn from him. This is how we should approach Ramayana, the Bhagavan's story. We should not make the mistake of looking upon Rama as the son of Dasaratha, as the king of Ayodhya, and etc., etc. These various ways that we are used to thinking all the time. That's a mistake that we do. This is our fault. We had to be very vigilant of that. And we think, for example, Dasaratha had 3 wives. That is Rama's father. And they were all such. The first one was of such nature. The second one was such nature. The third one was this nature. And then Rama had, the Dasaratha fought many wars, etc., etc. We think of all the other things associated with it. We miss the basic essence. The essence is that we must look at the Katha, Rama's story, with tremendous bhakti, devotion, and shraddha. With tremendous dedication, steady dedication we must have. Then only we will be able to glimpse and grasp the nectarine essence of what the story is. Just like, when we, as some of us have done back in India, and I'm sure all of us would have done back in India, is that when you go and take a cup of sugarcane juice, what do? You take the sugarcane and then you squeeze the juice out of it. Just like that, how we squeeze the juice out of the sugarcane. Or if you ever happen to be in a very calm, peaceful mood, go into a garden and happen to see, at least once in a lifetime, a bee actually sitting on the petal of a flower and completely immersed and sucking honey out of it. How does a bee suck the honey out of a flower, regardless of how big or small the flower is, or what color it is, what shape it is? Now, those things don't matter. Point is, how does it suck it out? It's just like that. Or some of us may have seen this in India or even here. Is how does a moth? If you ever see a moth and a fire next to it, what does a moth do? Without the slightest hesitation, it flies towards the brightness of the flame. The brightness of the flame is what attracts it. And it goes to it, completely ignores the heat, and the resultant catastrophe, it basically gives up its life. With that strong, simple focus, the spiritual aspirant, people who have started on the path towards the lotus feet, they should pine to yearn the karuna rasam, the daya, the compassion, the love of Bhagavan. And when you approach it with that perspective, then you see the Ramayana is saturated with nothing but that. And all the other things that you see in Ramayana is very similar to the way we eat a fruit. If you take any fruit that you take for that matter, it has got an outer skin. And sometimes, some fruits, of course, we take it without skin. Most of them we don't. And so we throw away, if you take orange, for example, classic example. So you take to remove the skin, right? And then it has got seeds in it. And the seeds also you don't take and then eat it. And just because you paid the money for it, we just throw the seeds out. What about the pulp in it? Okay, the pulp also, it is not that tasty. And so you squeeze the juice out of it, and then you take the juice. And Ramayana is exactly like that. It is Rama's fruit. Ramayana is called Rama fruit. What does it have? It has got the stories and the tales of Rakshasas that can be considered as outer skin. And the wicked deeds that these various evil people do, they can be considered as the indigestible seeds in the fruit. And then there are lots of sensory attractions and worldly attractions and descriptions, and so many things come in the Ramayana. Those things, you can take it as the not too tasty, fibrous stuff. But they are all the sheets for the juice. And the juice is nothing but Bhagavan who came, the entity, the selfless love, the prema that came in the Rama form. The juice is nothing but the prema and the karuna rasa of Rama. So that is how we should approach. If you seek Bhagavan's love and you hear Ramayana, or you narrate it, or you read it, that is the approach with which you should do. This is the best way of Sravanam, of listening. Once on the banks of river Gangai, Parikshit was seated there and had the greatest fortune of having Sukha himself as his teacher in his last moments. And so Sukha was narrating many, many things to him in such a beautiful, beautiful way, mesmerizing stories and glories of Bhagavan and all that, what we call as Bhagavatam. And one of the questions that Parikshit asked him, Swami, there is one thing that is really puzzling me. You can clarify that doubt. And I know you can do it. I've listened to so many narratives and of his forefathers, which is his grandparents, the Panchapandavas, and their times with Krishna and all that. And then, but not only that, Parikshit has also studied our lineage all the way from Manu, coming from River Swan, coming from the sun, coming from sun's father, Marichi, and Marichi's father is Brahma. This is our lineage. And so he has studied all that. He says, Swami, I've studied all this, and with very tremendous care and attention, I've studied that. But when you look at in the history, there's always mention of the rishis, the sages, and they're always attached to a king. And they are sitting in his darbar, in his palace, in his darbar, in the meetings with the king, in the royal meetings and all that. And they were taking part in the business of government, of administration. Why is that? I mean, these rishis are supposed to have renounced everything. For them, nothing in the world matters. Only Bhagavan matters. Why would they attach themselves to monarchs, to kings, and sit there in the darbar and participate in the worldly affairs of administering the kingdom and the business of kingdom, the management and all that? Their hearts were always pure and absolutely unsullied, right? So it doesn't make sense. Why would they get involved? Why would they do that? Please explain this to me. And then Sukha laughed at it. He said, King, you asked a very good question. Okay? Let me tell you. These rishis, the holy sages who were there, they were always eager to share with others, with everybody else, with all their fellow men, the truth that they have grasped. They have grasped the truth. So they want to share it with everyone so all the others can benefit. And they've had, when you experience Bhagavan, there is no experience that can be more sanctifying than that. One momentary contact with Bhagavan stays with you forever without decreasing in its intensity or sweetness. And that sanctifying experience with Bhagavan, when you interact, that's something you want to share with everyone. That is what they want to do. They have had such loving experiences with Bhagavan himself, sanctifying, transcendental experiences that cannot be described in this world. You cannot get them in this world. And so they want to share it with their fellow men for their benefit. And because when you touch the Lord, and what happens, you want all the deeds, all the actions that you do become elevated. They are no longer cheap. They are no longer petty. They are always in a selfless manner for the benefit of others. So it's an elevating deeds that they have been blessed to perform because of their contact with Bhagavan. All this they want to share with everyone. And the divine grace that fell on them, that is to be shared, not to be kept just with you. It's a universal thing. And so they want to share all this with others who are also seeking proximity and who want to be close to Bhagavan. So they want to share it with them. And so what is the best way to do that? So when you approach the king, which we call today a manager, chief executive, doesn't matter. Point is, you are responsible for a group of people. The kingdom, the thousands and millions of people maybe. So when you go to that administrator, they sit with him and they teach him in all branches of knowledge, in moral conduct, what is important, what is not important, what are the guidelines that you should employ in caring for the people that are in your kingdom. So many practical lessons and teachings that they impart. And when a naughty problem comes, the king brings up problems to them. How do you solve this? Then they apply the right principles, the correct principles to help solve them. And what is the correct principle? The basic correct, there's only one correct principle in all the things that we do. That is, samasta lokaha sukhino bhavantu. Let all the beings in all the worlds be well, not just happy, because happiness is followed by sadness. No, you want them to be well. And that is the operating modus operandi. And with that, they were guiding the kings to manage to rule over the kingdom in the proper manner, because they wanted everyone to be truly well. This is the method of propagating. Now, there is one more reason why they were attached to the king's darbar. Sukamunivar continued. And what is it, Swami? You know, these rishis, they knew the past, the present, and the future. They know that the Bhagavan, the formless, selfless love, the prema, he is going to take a form, and he is going to come in this Ikshvaku dynasty, in the solar dynasty. It's going to take birth there. They knew this. So, they came ahead before the form materialized and waiting for it, because they wanted to have the darshan, the sparshan, and the sambhashan. The ability to, the blessing, the opportunity, the greatest grace to see the avatar in human form. And that beauty can never be described. It's impossible to describe it. And that they wanted to have. And what is the bliss that you have when you get to speak to the avatar and the avatar replies to you? Can you ever imagine that? You know, that they wanted to just experience that. And what more blessing can there be than touch the lotus feet of the Lord and see, is it really that soft? How does it feel? Because when the avatar comes in the human form, that's the time you can do all that. You cannot relate that to a formless entity. So they came here, served the kings, and in that service they contributed benefit to the whole society, and they were waiting their time for the avatar to come so they can have darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan with the avatar. And in this venerable crowd of rishis who were all waiting for Rama to come were Vasishta, Viswamitra, Garga, Agastya, so many other rishis. They were all there. They actually had no want. They really did not desire anything. They were monarchs of renunciation. And they didn't seek anything from anyone. Absolutely nothing. But they were ever content. And they came here to have the darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan with Bhagavan, and have that bliss. The darshan is the bliss of vision, and to sambhashan is the bliss of talking with Bhagavan and hearing him, and sparshan the bliss of touching him. And so that's the reason they came. They had no other objective. Now, the kings in those days also were humble. Even though they were very powerful, they had their head in the right place. They were very humble. They were always thinking of Bhagavan, of divine thoughts, and how to do good for the people, that they cared for the people. The poorest section, the weakest section of the society was the one they focused on, made sure they were well taken care of. If they were well taken care of, the rest of the society automatically is taken care of. And so the kings were serving the people that whom they were ruling over in such a way that the people's welfare and well-being was their prime objective. In achieving that, they held no bars. They even gave up their personal wants. So when they served the people like that, how did the people behave? They in turn showered their king with tremendous love. For them, the king was more important, even their own family members, because somebody who takes care of you so well, more than the way cares for you, even more than your mother does, and takes care of you even more. That is how the kings were taking care of their citizenry. So it was a fantastic fit. And So what happened, the result was, then in the kingdoms, there was really no lack of food, no lack of clothing. Everybody had good health. Everywhere there was greenery. Every day was a festival, happy day. And it was a very, very happy living it was. And Sukha explained like this, the role the rishis played and the kings played. And then he asked him, "Oh, Parikshit king, do you notice something? Whatever the really great, the good people do, whatever they choose to do, okay, and whatever company they choose have, they will ever be on the path of dharma only. They will ever be only on the path of divine. Their acts will always promote the welfare of this entire world, not for them, for the others." So when the Ramayana or other stories and glories of Bhagavan are narrated or recited or read, we must fix our attention. How should we listen? We must fix our attention on the majesty and the mystery of God, on the truth and the straightforwardness, the simplicity with which the avatar conducted itself. This should be our attention. No importance should be given to all the other extraneous matters. The important thing is, how did the avatar behave? How did it conduct itself? What is the lesson I am taking from it? That should be our focus. Now, when Bhagavan comes, an avatar comes, out of the 6.4 million varieties of creation that Bhagavan has created, other than one type of creation, all the others are following their dharma. Whatever they've been ordained, they do not deviate from it. The only type of creation that does not follow the dharma that is assigned to it is the human being. So, and to teach the human being, Bhagavan necessarily has to come as a human being. Then only we can relate to it. If a Bhagavan comes as a lion or a snake or a tree, we won't be able to relate to it. If it comes as a human being, then I can talk to it, I can relate to it, then I can learn in order to teach all the humanity. Is the reason Avataram comes as human form. The Devam Manushya Rupena, that's very important. And then does many, many things. When the Avataram comes and relates to you and you see that, then you begin to understand how each and every part of the Lord that has come as Avataram, right from the toe on the foot to the topmost strand of hair, okay, throughout the body, every part will be Madhuram, nothing but sweetness, nothing but perfection. Bhagavan looks at you, it is so perfect, so sweet. He speaks to you, it is so sweet. He lifts his hand and puts it down, it is so sweet. This is something that only Avatarams can do. So to experience that sweetness, in that process, to transform ourselves into true human beings, to follow Sathya and Dharma, that is what we have been given this birth for. And to teach us, Sathya and Dharma, and to bring us back from the path that we have lost. We are all gone astray. To bring us back is the reason the Avataram comes in the human form. And so the story of Rama is not the story of an individual, not as an ordinary human being. No, absolutely not. It's a story of Avataram. What is the story of? It is a history, it's a story of the universe itself. How so? Because Rama is the embodiment, the personification of the basic universal that in all beings. He is in all, at all times, in all space. And the story that deals not with the period in the past. We should not make the mistake that it took place in Treta Yugam and this is what happened. No. That's wrong. The story does not deal only with the period of the past. It is also deals with the present and the future without end, with beginningless and endless time, because that is what prema is. No ant can bite without Rama's will. Not even the distant star can shine without Rama's will. No leaf can drop from a tree, from a branch without Rama's will. Without Rama's prompting, nothing can happen. The sky, the Panchabhutangal, the sky, the wind, fire, water, earth, all the 5 elements, the Panchabhutangal, they behave the way they do according to the dharmam that has been prescribed to them in utter fear of Rama. They do not deviate. Completely in tune with his orders, they behave. And Rama is the principle, is the essence, is the entity that attracts and endears through that attraction the disparate, different assortment of things that we see in nature. This attraction that one exerts over another is what makes the universe exist and function. This is the Rama principle, without which the whole cosmos will become chaos. Without Rama, there is no panorama. Without Bhagavan, there is no Prakriti. Now, in the Immaculate Solar Dynasty, there was a king called Katwanga. And Katwanga was a very famous king. His fame was spread far and wide. Very powerful king. People loved him tremendously, intensely, because he was very fair. Not only was he strong, but he was also gentle of heart, following Sathya and Dharma, absolutely scrupulous follower of that. And that revered ruler, Katwanga, people loved him so much, and he had one and only son called Dilipa. And Dilipa also grew up beautifully from a small child, shining and following the footsteps of his father, learned all the things that the monarch should learn, the archery and the various skills, and more important than that, from his own father, he learned the importance of following Sathya and Dharma, and was growing up in a fantastic way, very nice way. So our father was very happy. This is very nice. So now my son can take over the kingdom. The Ikshvaku dynasty, solar dynasty is not a simple thing. It's a huge, very vast country, basically from sea to sea it was. And so as Katwanga was looking at his son grow up in a very, very beautiful, perfect manner to be as an ideal prince to take over the kingdom, and so he started thinking, now I must find a suitable wife for him. So in the adjoining kingdom called Magadha kingdom, which is the current Bihar, that area, Bihar and eastern UP, that area is Magadha kingdom, a little bit north of that also. And there he found Magadha, that one princess was there. Her name was Sudakshina. So Katwanga fixed this very nice. So Sudakshina was agreed to marry, and so both parties agreed. So the marriage took place with tremendous grandeur. I mean, you can imagine the royal marriage, especially the Ikshvaku dynasty. It's not an ordinary matter. So tremendous festival it was, and so they got married. Now, the important thing another thing we must take in this story is that while Dilipa was, of course, born in the royal family, lineage and all that, he was extremely humble. The humility, the Vinayam was always there. So was Sudakshina. She was also a woman with tremendous virtues, very saintly, very simple, and sincere companion, soulmate of her husband. Okay, and she served her Lord. What happened? Because she served him so much, he also served her. This is the beauty of a marriage. And so they treated each other like each one was his own bread, and following Sathya and Dharma all the way. And Dilipa continued to learn from his father as he grew up, and as his father was getting older, and he thought, I must now start lessening the burden that my father is facing, because managing a kingdom, ruling a kingdom is not easy. So he was preparing himself for that. And Katwanga also at that time decided the time had come. So he called the astrologers together, fixed an auspicious day and the coronation for Dilipa, and made Dilipa the king, gave him the responsibilities. Now, at that time, I'll conclude with a short story here and a couple of minutes. Katwanga's fame was so well spread, and he was such an ideal ruler, not only in might but also in principles. And that once when there was a war that went on between the Devas and the Asuras, and Asuras were getting stronger, and Devas could not, they were being beaten. So Indra came down and requested Katwanga to come and help him. And immediately when somebody like angel comes and calls you, immediately you go. So he gathered all his army and then went and fought and defeated the Asuras, and very happily. So, and he asked, at that time, he was about to return to back to his kingdom. Now, at that time, Indra said, all the angels said, no, you must have, please, you must ask us something, for the tremendous work that you have done for us and you have really helped us. No, please, ask a boon, something that we can give you. And Katwanga said, listen, the opportunity, first of all, you showered this great honor on me by inviting me to come and to help you, assist you. That itself is a great honor. And to be able to fight and on your side, along with you, participate in this holy war of defeating the evil tendencies, basically, which is what Rakshasas are. That itself is a great blessing. What more do I want? This is enough for me. But Indra kept on insisting. He said, no, you did such a great thing for us, so you must ask something. Since then, Katwanga said, okay, if you insist, I'll ask you something. And Indra said, okay, what is it? Then Katwanga told him, listen, Indra, you know the past, present, and future. You know what's going to happen, all the 3 times, you have the knowledge. Now tell me, how long do I have to live? And Indra immediately said, oh, you got another 1 muhurtam. That means another 1.5 hours. That's all you have to live. And the moment Katwanga heard that, you know what he did? He immediately dropped all his armory, weapon, and everything else right there, sat down right where he was, and started reciting Bhagavan's name, and directed his mind to the lotus feet. And within that muhurtam, when he left the body, he merged with the Lord. And it's a beautiful story of Katwanga that I wanted to share with you, as narrated by none other than Sukamuni himself to Parikshit. Why? Because Parikshit was getting impatient. Swami, you're not telling me. Please tell me. I have only 7 days to live. My time is coming up. For that, he told him, Parikshit, you've got 7 days. Why are you worried? You can, to attain the lotus feet, you don't need 7 days. All you need is 1 minute, 1 kshanam, you can achieve it. Now I will tell you the story of Katwanga. Then he told him the story. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And then with Bhagavan's grace, we will continue on Monday. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.